What are you? You guys getting this? Quite the little dinosaur. Well, hey everybody. I'm Ryan.
I'm Echo.
And today we're reviewing
Super Mario Brothers.
They're brothers. They're plumbers. Oh no! Mario! Luigi!
I'm very excited to talk about this piece of shit movie. I was obsessed with Mario as a kid, and then the movie came out, and I was so excited, and I went to see it with a bunch of friends, and about a half hour into it, I ran screaming from the theater. It is the scariest film I've ever seen in my fucking life, and it traumatized me into my early 20s. I'm reluctant to confess.
This was the first time I had ever seen it, I'm semi-ashamed to say, and I could see why it would be terrifying. At no point are you watching it and you're like, yeah, good kids movie.
Yeah.
I've got a few problems, but...
Well, you know, we got a van.
It is a dark, gritty, sci-fi, Blade Runner-esque, terrifying family children's film. I was excited to see this with you because, like you said, you had never seen it before, and it's 20, 25 years removed now. What did you think?
I had a lot of fun because I kept trying to figure out who's who, like what character lines up with what other character in the movie.
I was trying to dissuade you from that.
I know, you kept telling me, like, don't think about it. You'll never figure some of this out. And it's true, I didn't figure a lot of it out. But it was still fun just to, like, be like, that was their attempt at Toad?
You know the law, Toad! Hey, wait a minute! You can't arrest a guy that's just singing a song!
Or that was their attempt at Bowser and Yoshi?
Yeah.
But I don't regret watching it.
That's how I feel. I can't describe this movie as good in any sense of the word, but I remain fascinated by it. And again, because of my personal relationship to it, like I said, I was obsessed with the Mario franchise and then saw this movie. And, you know, I don't react to scary movies. You know, I'd seen Jaws at a young age, Child's Play at a young age, The Exorcist at a young age, and none of those movies had an impact on me. This movie was the kind of movie where, like, when the commercial for it came on TV after, I would have to change the channel. I was so destroyed psychologically by this movie.
What would you say was like the most defining scary moment in the film that really hit you hard?
Well, I mean,
as a kid,
there were a handful of things. First of all, Koopa, the villain of the piece, is played by Dennis Hopper, and he's totally doing like a Blue Velvet thing in a kids movie. And Dennis Hopper is scary even if you're an adult. Mm-hmm. You know, to a child, he's terrifying.
King Koopa here.
Oh, yes, sir.
I'd like the Koopa special.
Pterodactyl tail on that?
Yes. Dino, lizard, hold the mammal, no worms, and spicy.
So him and his weird hair, that really freaked me out. The claustrophobic design of the Mushroom Kingdom really freaked me out. You know, as a kid, you know, it's bright, it's fun, it's colorful in the games, and then you see it, and it's like this terrifying, small, disgusting
grimy
little world.
alley.
Yeah.
It's like every single road in that movie is just a grimy alley.
Everything is disgusting.
Look at this. It's a plumber's nightmare. These pipes haven't been serviced for years.
Must have been a non-union job.
It's got to be one of the first examples I can think of the dark, gritty reboot. I mean, that was something popularized by the Batman franchise in the 2000s.
Sure.
But this, I think, is basically the first example that I can think of somebody going, you know what, we're going to do this dark. We're going to do this kids adventure series, and we're gonna adult it up.
That is true.
And we're gonna.
I'll give him that. I won't give him much else.
It's not a. I mean, it wasn't the right choice.
Yeah.
Now, I do strangely love this film. It's not good, but I find it immensely fascinating from an aesthetic perspective and from a historical perspective. It somehow succeeds at capturing this energy of early 90s children's fare. Like, entertainment was very child-centric. in the early 90s. You know, you think of Nickelodeon, you think kind of like the post-Home Alone family movie boom. And this movie fits in with that pretty well.
For sure. I mean, you got the wacky bad guys that are always messing up and blundering around.
They say it's dark.
Don't blow it this time.
There's a grossness to it that I think like captures a certain juvenile quality of just like being fascinated by gross things, which is something I actually kind of like about the movie. It doesn't succeed at it, but it's like the way that it taps into it. You know, it's like the way you'd see, you know, a Nickelodeon used to have Gak.
What is Gak?
Gak is great stuff.
Yeah, and you'd drop people in slime. You know,
there's tons of goo in that movie.
Yeah, it's a gooey movie.
It's a gooey.
It's a gooey experience. Okay, all right. The premise is simple enough. You know, they're plumbers, and they get sucked into this world, and they got to rescue the princess from a big bad guy, right? Simple enough.
Yeah.
But the plot around that premise is so
insane.
convoluted and insane. I'd love to hear you take a stab at it.
All right.
Strap your belt on, kid. We're going in.
So I've only seen this once, I'll say that. I did see it yesterday, and there are so many little side plots going on, but here's my attempt. There was, there was a baby born out of an egg in the real world who turns out to be the son of a now mushroom in the Mushroom Kingdom. She has a piece of a meteor. The guy that's ruling over that underground city, Dennis Hopper, wants that piece of the meteor back because for some reason that will fuse the two worlds together. And that's his kind of end game thing, is he wants to fuse the worlds together and rule over everything.
I need the rock and the Princess Daisy. And I'll finally be able to merge our world with theirs and get rid of the mammals.
The plumbers are there kind of by accident because Luigi dated the egg girl. And egg girl gets kidnapped by Dennis Hopper, and Mario ends up with the meteor shard. And how'd I do?
About as good as the movie does.
It's a miracle we made it alive.
I thought you didn't believe in miracles, Mr. Tough Guy, huh?
You described it as about as succinctly as I think we're ever going to get.
Okay.
The movie even starts with a really shitty, like, animated exposition dump. It was inserted after the fact because the producers knew that the movie was so confusing that they tried to add this little scene to correct it. Obviously, it doesn't work.
No people went around hassling them because there weren't any people yet. Just the first tiny mammals.
It starts off kind of slow, admittedly, when we're in New York, and it's basically...
It takes a long time.
It does.
Feels like a different movie for a while.
Yeah, it does. It kind of feels like this...
romantic comedy.
Yeah, it's like a romantic comedy drama.
So now let me get this perfectly clear here. What we're discussing is bones.
Not exactly.
Up until we end up in this... in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, like you have the date scene where it's Mario's girlfriend, Luigi, and Daisy, and there's like this long, like 5 to 7 minute sequence of them meeting, and then they all go out to dinner, and they have like nonchalant conversation, and then they like goof around on the way home, and it does nothing to the story. It was a weird opening, and you're just left the whole time wondering, like, why did they bring up the egg girl and the fossils? They spew that on you in 1 minute, and then you have 20 minutes of nothing. Also, like, just kind of continuity-wise, I had fun just looking out for these parts where I was like, that person never learned that piece of information, but they're acting on it now. You know, like at one point towards the end of the movie, Daisy's like...
Until we can get things settled here and I can get to know my father.
But she doesn't know that her father has turned human again.
Yeah.
She was never shown that. That wasn't revealed. He's still just a big hunk of fungus to her.
Let's explain that. So...
Sure.
I want to hear you explain it.
Okay, so let me explain the former king of Mushroom Kingdom. So, did we mention the devolution beam?
You have to go back.
There's a lot of background information.
You have to go all the way back to the beginning of time.
Yeah.
The way this movie starts, in the beginning of time.
So there's a king of this alternate universe, and the king is, ruling over it. All's fine. And then Dennis Hopper comes in, and he has invented somehow this weaponry that devolves people, and it can devolve anyone back to any point in time. So he devolves the king into fungus.
We also have to mention the fact that, like, in this universe, humans aren't descended from apes.
No, they're descended.
Gotta roll that.
Yeah,
back.
we gotta go back to that. Yeah. So also, yeah, that's important. Humans, the evolution of man in this movie is primordial goo, fungus, dinosaur, intelligent human being. Those are the 4 steps of life in Super Mario Brothers.
Dennis Hopper's villainous heavies are the Goombas.
You want a cigarette? I can't believe you're kissing up to this guy. Oh, Angelica, he's no worse than my boss.
In the game, there's small creatures with large heads.
Yeah.
And it's the opposite in this one, where they're 9 feet tall and they have little lizard heads that are terrifying.
They're so creepy.
It is fucking terrifying. All right, so this movie stinks. But I remain fascinated by it, a lot of it because of the visual design, which we kind of lost in our viewing because the movie is available to view for free on YouTube, but it's very low res, which is unfortunate, I think, because one of the things that I actually find really fascinating about this movie is all in the visual design. The production designer in this movie was David L. Snyder, who worked on Blade Runner, and you can tell because his aesthetic is all over the place. It's this dystopic, claustrophobic space. And there's so much going on in these scenes of the Mushroom Kingdom. There's something going on in every little corner. Like, you could just pause a frame and just see 2 or 3 different things going on everywhere.
Where is this place?
I don't know. I ain't been to Manhattan in a couple of weeks.
Must have been a bad couple of weeks.
In fact, the directors earned the ire of a lot of the production and the cast, specifically because they were so focused on the background stuff that they didn't care about the acting, the story, the stuff you're supposed to care about.
That all came through.
Yeah. The entirety of this movie is shot in a cement factory in North Carolina. And I bring it up because it just adds to the aesthetic of this film. It's gross, it's grimy, it's industrial, it's disgusting. It's not what this franchise should be.
In search of their dream location, the filmmakers stumbled upon an abandoned cement factory. This mammoth 5-story structure reinforced the production team's motto, creativity is transforming what is into what might be.
They built a working donut factory inside this cement factory. And like, that's just one of the crazy things that they did with a $40 million budget. There's all this.
It was $40 million?
$40 million, yeah, in '93.
Jeez.
So that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
We had a tremendously rich tapestry of characters to work from in the game itself. So the trick was here to try and get those characters to come to life and to integrate them into a story which made some sense.
For the intricacy of the design, you never feel transported at all once. It's just this claustrophobic, ugly space, and you never feel like you're anywhere else other than a cement factory.
Are you telling us that you're gonna arrest the guy for being a plumber? Get out of here!
Yesterday, you told me, like, look out in this movie for modern day Donald Trump president parallels.
Okay.
And I saw them all over the place once you said that. And I don't know if it was because I was strictly looking for them, but I mean, just to start off, Dennis Hopper looks like a weird, fair, golden-haired Donald Trump in a suit.
Yeah. Now, we here at In the Fold try to remain bipartisan, so I want to say that off the bat. However, it's really hard to deny the fact that President Trump is totally in this movie. There's a lot of terrifying parallels. The weird blonde hair, the way he holds his hands, his little Tyrannosaurus Rex hands, his dark suits, his red ties, his fascist tendencies, and an army of loyal idiots.
Yes. And the fact that he's devolving his followers.
Yes, the Mushroom Kingdom will be great again. Oh, he's a germaphobe too, which is another Trump thing.
No one touches President Koopa.
So I think from a modern perspective, it's fun to watch this movie and to kind of see the terrifying parallels in Dennis Hopper.
And you also pointed out that this movie completely predicts 9/11.
Yeah, there is a scene later on in the film where the Twin Towers
suddenly become...
They just kind of...
disintegrate a little bit?
Yeah, they disintegrate. But anyway, you know, it's there.
That was a little weird, yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys will do anything for publicity.
All this exposition is squeezed into every nook and cranny of the film because the story is so convoluted and so confusing. Now, I'm familiar with this movie. I've actually done a lot of research on it just by being fascinated with it over the years. More ADR was done on this film than any other film ever made.
Really?
Yeah. It holds the record.
No, you're not gonna kill them. Not if I get there first. I'm gonna break every bone in their body, and then I'm gonna kill them. I'm really gonna kill them.
Wow. That makes sense, though.
Yeah, just because, like, every second needs some sort of explanation for what the fuck is going on in this stupid movie.
One of the things, I found it funny, though, like how there's just these exposition dumps where all of a sudden Dennis Hopper's, like, walking down the stairs, and you don't see his face, so I'm assuming like that was ADR too. And you just hear him talking to no one in particular, just like, the Mushroom Kingdom fell and I dethroned that guy and I'll be damned if I'm not gonna take over the world. A meteor hit us, by the way.
And it doesn't do anything to clarify the story.
No, it just makes it more confusing.
It makes it way fucking worse.
Oh.
And it just leaves you with so many questions that you don't even want answered because, frankly, it's a terrible experience. Mario and Luigi are played by Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. John Leguizamo is Colombian. Bob Hoskins is English. Neither of them are Italian.
I used to do Shakespeare and wear tights, you know, but now I'm playing this little character that bounces up and down in a game.
So that's nice.
Me and Mario come from a long line of great plumbers. It's like they're two average Brooklyn guys hanging out in Brooklyn, taking care of plumbing and all that kind of stuff.
I actually think it's not a bad casting choice. They're not who I would have picked, but I didn't think that they were terrible.
Bob Hoskins, he fits it enough, at least looks-wise.
Yeah, and he's been in, like, I mean, I think of immediately of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and he's in a kid's movie where he's got to play a gruff guy in this world where you have no idea what it's going to look like at the end. So he does his level best, although they both he and Leguizamo were very disappointed throughout the filming and got drunk every day, and so...
Really?
Oh, yeah. The production was pretty troubled. It got to the point where new pages were being written every single day, and the cast would have to ignore them in order to maintain any kind of continuity. There was a lot of turmoil in the production of this film, which is not hard to see.
No.
The film's concept was enhanced by the joyful and unpredictable imaginations of directors Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel, creators of the electronic sensation Max Headroom.
And the first question that came up in our minds was, where did it all come from and why did it happen?
The directors went with a very adult sci-fi aesthetic. Everybody else, including the producers, the cast, they had all signed on to make what they thought was going to be a friendly children's adventure film. When the producers came down to set and realized what was going on after so many weeks, they panicked and tried to redirect the movie into a more family-friendly adventure.
Okay.
What had happened was that their own agent came onto the set to fire them.
Okay.
And they were replaced by the producer and the cinematographer because they were down there for something like 16 weeks.
Mirroring New York City, but existing in another time dimension, is Dino Hatton. Although Uptown was never like this, unless you happen to be descended from a dinosaur.
What is this place?
It was just a big fucking mess. There was supposed to be a giant scene at the end where Mario and Koopa fight on the Brooklyn Bridge, but they ran out of money. That was never gonna fucking happen. They actually built flame-throwing guns, and there's actual balls of flame flying around the set. It was wildly dangerous. Well, that's something that I love.
I like that too. I like the fact that they did use practical effects. And you mentioned the part where they're sliding on like the mattress.
Yeah, there's a part later on in the movie where our heroes are escaping through like an ice tunnel and they have to fly across the main plaza of the Mushroom Kingdom on a mattress. The stunt was not performed with stunt actors. It was just the actual actors, and they were just on a guided wire that was 25 feet above a concrete floor. One of the wires snapped during a take, and 6 people fell 20 feet to a concrete floor. It's a miracle that nobody fucking died, especially because this is not the kind of, like, if you have to die on a movie,
Yeah, you don't want to go down on Super Mario
You don't want to
Brothers.
die on this.
Where's my pizza?
All right, so my top 3 favorite what the hell moments in this movie. The reveal that the old king is a giant fungus that can still react to voices, because when they talk to it, it drops down this one weird testicle looking ball out of this big fungus sack. And you're just like, what's going on? Number 2 moment, Mario and Luigi are in an elevator with a bunch of Goombas. And for some reason, Luigi's plan for them to get out of that elevator alive is to start making the Goombas dance. And they do, and it works. My number 3 moment where it gave me a really big laugh was Mario and Luigi in the beginning of the movie, the whole time, are just setting up like how broke they are.
Wow, we're going broke.
We ain't going broke, Mario. We're already there.
Everybody's got tap water. $3.
And then they're at like a 5-star restaurant with their dates having a good time, drinking wine, eating dinner. That to me was a what the fuck moment too.
My signature moment probably is after the Mario Brothers have been arrested, they and Toad are taken to the de-evolution chamber to be de-evolved. Toad is strapped into this chair, and it's just this Lovecraftian nightmare scenario where Toad is devolved into a Goomba. And there's a part where they show his head kind of transforming, and that was the part at which I ran screaming from the theater as a 7-year-old.
Really?
Because
Okay.
that
was terrifying.
It's just a fucking terrifying
Weird.
moment. Yeah, I really responded to that. Number 2 is the 9/11 prediction. And then number 1 is, oh boy. Oh my God, what have I know we've forgotten stuff. Oh, I want to talk about the Mudbath.
Do you know what I love about mud? It's clean and it's dirty at the same time.
Now, that's not appropriate for a children's movie, but god damn it, that's a great line, and it's a great it's a great Hopper moment. Really, really like it. The part where they're being interrogated by Hopper, and Hopper gets really frustrated with the Mario Brothers, and he lunges right for John Leguizamo's eyeballs. Yeah. So I was like, again, another wildly inappropriate moment for a children's film, but so classically Hopper.
Yeah.
You just know that if Dennis Hopper gets mad at you, he's gonna try to
Gouge
thumb
out
your
your
eyeballs
eyes.
out of your fucking sockets.
Let's fuck! I'll fuck anything that moves!
There's a dance sequence. They have the dance club, and
Yeah.
there's so many things. We have Big Bertha with
Big
a fucking
Bertha.
just giant tits and the
Yeah.
fucking spiked dress, which I actually also love.
You know, I think another interesting thing about this movie is the theme, which almost feels shoehorned in at the last moment. They were like,
Yeah.
we got to film 2 extra scenes, one at the beginning and one at the end, just to give this a theme. So in the beginning, there's one part where like Mario and Luigi are going about their regular day, and Luigi's just like, you know, Mario, sometimes you just got to believe that anything can happen. Something like that. Show the clip.
Anything's possible, Mario. You just gotta believe.
I do believe. I believe the rent is 3 months overdue. That's what I believe.
And then at the end of the movie, again, Daisy, for some reason, runs back into their apartment, and she's like,
You're never gonna believe this.
I believe it.
You do?
I believe.
I gotta believe.
Yeah, and I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't go back. No, that was terrifying.
Never.
Oh, I love too at the end, where after they kill Dennis Hopper, nothing's changed. Everything still sucks. They're still hard up on resources. They still live in this dystopic shithole. Nothing's better.
Nothing's better at all.
They've just lost the one guy that might know how to run anything.
The world is still 98% desert.
Yeah, and they know about Earth, but Earth doesn't know about them.
Yeah.
And there is something I like about how like all the design and the culture of things feels like the way lizards or dinosaurs would misinterpret
Humans.
human culture. And I do kind of
Yeah.
like there's interesting things going on conceptually, but that's it. That's where it ends. It's
Yeah.
otherwise a terrible, nauseating experience.
Sir, your pizza's here. Not now.
So, all in all, would you recommend this movie?
as much as I love this film, and as much as I advocated for us to do this film, and I pestered many people about it, I can't recommend it. I can only recommend it if you can watch a film only to appreciate it on a purely conceptual level. Like I said, there's very interesting ideas that the movie puts forth. I actually kind of love the idea that where on Earth humans are evolved from apes, the idea in this alternate universe where humans are evolved from dinosaurs. There is something strangely bold and crazy that I love about that, especially because if you got to make a movie with human actors and they're dinosaurs. I mean, I love that as kind of like an excuse. I love the idea that this is a universe that's hard up on resources because dinosaurs still live, so dinosaurs have never been fossilized. So there's no fossil fuels. So
I don't think they thought that far.
Well, I mean, that's how I took it.
But that's a fun thing to pull out of it. I would not recommend it either. Even though there were a lot of points where I had some laughs, they were not worth sitting through it, I think. Like, I definitely don't think I'm going to watch it again.
No.
I will say I don't regret watching it. It was fun because you built it up. And
yeah, I really sold this sucker.
And it was, I don't know. If you like watching train wrecks, maybe just watch it. But I would say the average person isn't going to make it past the 20 minutes of setup without being like, okay, this is dumb. But if you can grin and bear it, I guess give it a shot.
Whoa, cool!
I'm Echo.
And I'm Ryan.
And this has been In the Fold.
Hope you guys enjoy. If you, liked this movie, put a comment below. I see YouTubers do this, where they say, put a comment below.
Right here.
Put a comment.
I got your comment. Right here.
Like, subscribe, and share. And put a comment below.
Don't tell them no more. You want to find out more, you come see the movie.
That's right. Come see us.